some of the most magical memories were in here with Langtons. And like you often hear people talking about, like, you know, as Brian's, you know, a major thing was the spirit of the group. And, you know, we often probably talk about, and probably it's about, you know, nights out after games and all, but it was probably the likes of in here was even more important again, which was 3-4 times a week after training. You're absolutely, you know, after your tongue was out after training and you're barely able to walk, at least you knew you were going down to a lovely meal with we all round a little group and just laughing and chatting and having the crack, and we wouldn't even talk about hurling.
No. Lads would be talking about Love Island and all this. that was it towards the end. It was whatever was on, like lads would be talking, everything other than hurling really, pretty much, like, you know, at the odd time, but it was what lads were watching on Netflix and all this crack, and it was probably your window then where you were sitting down, and it was another extension of the whole bonding really, wasn't it, like, you know. And then even like the nights you come in here after a match though as well, and the place would be jammed. And, you know, you'd be obviously off talking to your friends or whoever away from the panel, but then, you know, you'd meet you at the bar or something then, and sure was gas. It was like, oh jeez, there's Tommy now, there's Jackie, whatever. So, you know, there were so many of those big nights and everything that it was just like down to stories you'd have in here, and, you know, it was obviously a huge part of it. But in fairness, the one thing I would say about us, often a lot of lads would ask you, you know, particularly around, you know, having a few pints and stuff, like, you know, we always, I suppose, valued what that brought to us in terms of releasing the bit of pressure after a game. You know, you spend so long building up to a game, the nerves, the pressure, you know, and after the game then you kind of, I suppose, it's a chance to release that pressure and talk about, you know, how the game went, all the trainings in the run up to it, and really kind of, I suppose, particularly after you won, like, mark that and say, you know, we were after working really hard the last few weeks and celebrating it, you know. And in fairness, we did do it well, like. There was no
egos.
No,
so
there wasn't.
Them boys looked after you. It didn't matter whether you were 5 years younger than them or 5 years older than them.
Yeah.
You were part of their close.
Yeah.
And it meant a lot.
It did.
Especially with a young person coming in, because, as you said earlier on, you're kind of coming in maybe wondering, do you even fit in this inter-county setup?
Yeah.
And suddenly then you don't feel like it for a while. But the more you get to know the lads, and then in the games themselves, then you're surviving and maybe starting to blossom.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you're part of the group, like,
you know.
So
I always remember, and it kind of, I said it one time, it was at a medals night, I think it was 2014 or something. And it was out of my mouth before I realised what I said, but then I kind of said, Jesus, actually, when you think about it, it's a huge thing. I just basically said that, you know, you could put any two players, let's say in 2014, but it applied to many years, that you could put any two players on the panel together, whether they were first year on the panel, whether it was their 10th year, put them together and they'd have a bit of crack, and they'd sit down and they'd have something in common. And when I thought about that afterwards, after saying it, I was like, that's a very rare thing to have. But if you do have it in a group of players, you're onto a good thing already.